Dear students, welcome to this online class. Today we will learn the chapter Indigo written by Louis Fisher. I've divided this chapter into two parts and today we will deal with part 1. In this particular lesson, we come across the problem of sharecroppers in Champaran. One of the sharecroppers, Rajkumar Shukla, approached Gandhiji for help in order to solve the problem faced by the peasants there in paying a compensation to the British landlords. Now, as we read ahead, we will understand the problem faced by the sharecroppers in Champaran and how Gandhiji was successful in solving the problem. I will begin this lesson with a video that will give you some idea about indigo and indigo cultivation and the uses and the profit involved in the business of indigo. Come, let us read and understand the chapter Indigo written by Louis Fisher.
Indigo, the color of India. The color blue is an integral part of India. It is the color of the chakra or wheel in the Indian flag. It is also the color of the much-loved Indian cricket team. This is no coincidence. The usage of blue dye in India can be traced back to 2000 BCE and before. It was widely practiced across the Coromandel coast of the Gujarat coast, Bihar, the Gangetic plains and many other parts of India. India had attained mastery in the extraction of neelam or the blue dye from the neelam plant in various shades from light blue to black. This plant was locally called as Neeli in Hindi, Neeli Chettu in Telugu, Avri Chedi in Tamil or Indigo Fera as per botanical classification. The total process from start to finish took 10 days, which involved crushing the soluble neelam leaves. Then came fermenting and boiling, where the light green color of the fermenting extract turned blackish blue. Beating was another method to add oxygen. It was by lengthy and vigorous beating of the fermenting liquid. Then the settled blue dye was filtered out to be scraped off, dried, and then shaped into cakes for easy transporting. The blue dye was then transported to different parts of the world from India. It was taken to Egypt by the Arabs, who called it ajrak. Ikat fabric in indigo blue found in a pharaoh's tomb in Fostat near Cairo stands a testimony to this. The continued tradition of ajrak can be seen in Bama in Rajasthan, Kutch in Gujarat, Sindh in Pakistan and nearby regions. Fabric dyed in this dye was found wrapped around a vase in the excavations of Harappa, the civilization that flourished 5,000 years ago. At Lothal, the ancient trading port near Gujarat, dating to Harappa times, large dyeing vats in clay were discovered. References of this Indian dye can be found in the Bible. It also went eastwards to Japan and China, from the Coromandel coast and Bengal, through Chinese and Okinawa traders. The blue dye came to be known as Aizome in Japan. Over centuries, the color blue in the dye has been widely known as indigo blue. It's simply because India ruled the trade of blue dyes across the world and indigo stood for the color from India, the home of knowledge, wisdom and fine craftsmanship for thousands of years. This is amazing India.
In this chapter, Indigo, the author describes the struggle of Gandhiji for the poor peasants of Champaran who had to share their crops with the British planters. This made their life miserable as they were forced to grow indigo according to an agreement. Now let us see some of the issues in Champaran. Most arable land in Champaran owned by Englishmen and worked by Indian tenants. So thus, the Englishmen were the landlords who owned the land, and Indian farmers worked on their farm. The second point is the chief commercial crop was indigo. You know, I already told you what is indigo. So the chief commercial crop of that area was indigo. And Indians were to cultivate this crop on their land. They were asked to cultivate this crop, indigo, because indigo was then in great demand. It would earn the British lot of money. Let's now move on to the next points. The issues in Champaran. The landlords compelled all tenants to plant 15% of their holdings with indigo. The landlords, they were Englishmen. They compelled Indian farmers or tenants, the peasants, to plant 15% of their holdings with indigo. As I told you, indigo business was very profitable, and that was the reason why the Indian peasants, farmers, were forced by the British landlords to plant indigo. Now, the entire indigo harvest was to be surrendered as rent. Indian farmers cannot take anything from the produce. The entire produce must be given to the British landlords, means their landlords. This was done by a long-term contract. Now this is the main issue. There was a long-term contract. The Indian peasants, they had a long-term contract with the landlords that they will cultivate indigo, that is 15% of their holdings with indigo. And whatever produce they get, that must be given to the British landlords. And this was a long-term contract. Many peasants signed and paid willingly. Others who went to court were threatened, intimidated by landlords' thugs. So here, many of the peasants signed the agreement and they were willing to pay compensation. Peasants came to know of synthetic indigo and they demanded their money back. The moment they came to know that Germany had developed synthetic indigo, and that's why there is less demand and they are asked not to cultivate indigo, they demanded their money back. Thus arose the conflict. So this was the problem in Champaran, and this was the problem faced by the sharecroppers, and we have Rajkumar Shukla approaching Gandhiji to help them, and finally Gandhiji arrives at Champaran to look into the problems of the sharecroppers. Let's now read the first paragraph of this lesson. When I first visited Gandhi in 1942 in his ashram in Sevagram in central India, he said, I will tell you how it happened that I decided to urge the departure of the British. It was in 1917. The author of this lesson is Louis Fisher. And this lesson, Indigo, is an excerpt from his book, The Life of Mahatma Gandhi. When Louis Fisher met Gandhi in 1942 in his ashram in Sevagram, Gandhiji told him that he would tell him how or what made him to urge the departure of the British from India. And it all happened in the year 1917. So, this is an account by Louis Fisher. Louis Fisher met Gandhi in his ashram, and then Gandhiji told him what led him to urge the departure of the British from India. And according to him, it all happened in 1917. To proceed further, in 1916, Gandhiji had gone to the annual convention of the Indian National Congress Party in Lucknow, and that was in December 1916. There were around 2,300 delegates and visitors. And during the proceedings, a peasant came to him. Now, we will see who this peasant is and how that peasant influenced Gandhi to solve the problem of the sharecroppers of Champaran. Gandhi recounted, "A peasant came up to me looking like any other peasant in India, poor and emaciated, and said, 'I am Rajkumar Shukla. I am from Champaran, and I want you to come to my district.' Emaciated means thin and weak. Thin and weak. What do we understand here? Gandhiji told Louis Fisher that while he was at Lucknow or in Lucknow, he was there for the annual convention of the Indian National Congress Party. A person came to him. He was poor, weak and thin, and he introduced himself to Gandhiji and said that he was from Champaran and he wanted Gandhiji to visit his district. He needed some help from Gandhiji, and therefore he made a request to Gandhiji that he should go with him to his district, that is Champaran. Under an ancient arrangement, the Champaran peasants were sharecroppers, and Rajkumar Shukla was one of them. Now, the sharecroppers were facing a problem. They were supposed to pay a compensation to the British landlords, and they were not in a position to do so, and therefore Rajkumar Shukla came to Gandhiji and sought his help. Gandhi had never heard of the place. It was in the foothills of the towering Himalayas near the kingdom of Nepal. Under an ancient arrangement, the Champaran peasants were sharecroppers. Rajkumar Shukla was one of them. Here we find that when Rajkumar Shukla invited Gandhiji to Champaran to solve the problem of the sharecroppers, Gandhiji had never heard of that place. And the place was near the kingdom of Nepal. You know, the state of Bihar borders Nepal, and Champaran was in the foothills of the towering Himalayas near the kingdom of Nepal. And we are also told about the ancient arrangement that Champaran peasants were sharecroppers, And we will see in the coming slides what this means. He was illiterate but resolute. He had come to the Congress session to complain about the injustice of the landlord system in Bihar, and somebody had probably said, "Speak to Gandhi." He here stands for Rajkumar Shukla, the person who had come to meet Gandhiji. Resolute means with firm determination. So here we find that Rajkumar Shukla was an illiterate, but he had a firm determination. He had come to seek the help of Gandhiji because somebody had told him that Gandhiji would be able to solve the problem of the sharecroppers. And he was so firm, impressed by the sharecroppers' tenacity and story. Gandhi said, "I have to be in Calcutta on such and such a date. Come and meet me and take me from there." We already saw that Rajkumar Shukla was resolute. He requested Gandhiji to go with him to his area called Champaran. Gandhiji was engaged at that time, he was busy. Shukla did not let go of Gandhi. He followed him wherever he went. Finally, Gandhiji had to arrange and fix time to go with him. And this very clearly shows that Rajkumar was firm and he was determined. He wanted Gandhiji to help persons like him. Gandhiji had an appointment in Kanpur, and also he had to go to other parts of India. Shukla accompanied him everywhere, and he followed him even to his ashram. For weeks he never left Gandhiji's side, and he begged, "Fix a date." He wanted Gandhi to go with him to his place known as Champaran. Thus, impressed by his tenacity. Tenacity means insistence. Impressed by his tenacity, that is the sharecropper, here it is Rajkumar Shukla, Gandhiji told him that he'll be going to Calcutta on a particular date and asked him to meet him there and take Gandhiji from there to Champaran. So here we find a person, Rajkumar Shukla, one of the sharecroppers. The sharecroppers faced a problem. They were supposed to give money, a compensation for not cultivating indigo, and they did not have enough to pay. They did not have money to pay the compensation, and therefore somebody told Rajkumar Shukla to approach Gandhiji, and finally Gandhiji had to give in. He said that he would accompany him when he would be reaching or when he would reach Calcutta on such and such a date. There Shukla led him to the house of a lawyer named Rajendra Prasad, who later became President of the Congress Party and of India. Students, I have not included all the paragraphs of this lesson. I have chosen only a few paragraphs of this particular chapter. Now there is here Patna. We already saw that Gandhiji had to give in to the request of Rajkumar Shukla, and when he reached Calcutta, Rajkumar Shukla was there and he waited for him. He waited till Gandhiji was free. Then the two of them, that is Rajkumar Shukla and Gandhiji, they boarded a train for the city of Patna in Bihar. There, Shukla led him to the house of a lawyer. And when they reached Patna, Rajkumar Shukla took Gandhiji to the house of Rajendra Prasad, who became the president of Congress party, and he was also the president of India. When they reached Rajendra Prasad's house, Rajendra Prasad was out of town, and the servants of Rajendra Prasad already knew that Rajkumar Shukla often used to pester or trouble their master to help the indigo sharecroppers. Therefore, they let him stay on the grounds with his companion Gandhiji, whom they took to be another peasant. And it is also said that Gandhiji was not even allowed to draw water from the well, lest some drops from his bucket pollute the entire source. Now, they didn't know who Gandhiji was, and they also did not know that Gandhiji was not an untouchable. Students, untouchability existed in India then, and that is why they did not allow Gandhiji to draw water from the well. Gandhi decided to go first to Muzaffarpur, which was en route to Champaran, to obtain more complete information about conditions than Shukla was capable of imparting. Gandhiji wanted to collect all possible information about the conditions of the peasants there. Therefore, he first went to Muzaffarpur to collect more information. Gandhiji sent a telegram to Professor J.B. Kripalani of the Arts College there, whom he had seen at Tagore's Shanti Niketan school. Kripalani received Gandhiji at the station with a large body of students, and he stayed there for 2 days in the home of Professor Malkani, a teacher in a government school. And he was in Muzaffarpur to gather all possible information about the conditions of the peasants in Champaran. The news of Gandhi's advent and of the nature of his mission spread quickly through Muzaffarpur and to Champaran. Sharecroppers from Champaran began arriving on foot and by conveyance to see their champion. Those were the days. In smaller localities, the Indians were afraid to show sympathy for advocates of home rule, people who argued for home rule. Thus we find here, when Gandhiji reached Muzaffarpur, lot of people came to meet him. They wanted to meet their champion. The lawyers there called on Gandhi to brief him. And these lawyers frequently represented peasant groups in court. And they also told him about their cases, also reported the size of their fee, means the amount they collected as fee to represent their cases. Gandhiji was very angry and he scolded the lawyers for collecting big fee from the sharecroppers. Gandhiji did not want such cases to be taken to courts. In his words, he said, "Stop going to law courts. Taking such cases to courts does little good. The peasants are so crushed and fear-stricken and law courts are useless. And according to him, the real relief for them is to be free from fear. Those peasants were under fear, and somebody had to help them to come out of fear or get them free from the fear they had for the British. And that's what Gandhiji wanted to do for them. Thus, here we come to know the concern, love and care of Gandhiji for the peasants of Champaran. And a lot of people came to meet him because they heard that somebody had come to save them from their difficult situations. Presently, the landlords learned that Germany had developed synthetic indigo. Students, most of the arable land, arable means that is suitable for growing crops, in the Champaran district was divided into large estates owned by Englishmen and worked by Indian tenants. And the chief commercial crop was indigo. And the landlords compelled the tenants to plant 15% of their holdings with indigo and to hand over or surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent. Now, Germany developed synthetic indigo, and therefore the British landlords were not interested in natural indigo, and they obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them, that is, the landlords, compensation, to pay them compensation for being released from that 15% arrangement. So, the sharecroppers were forced to pay a compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. They thereupon obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. At this point, Gandhi arrived in Champaran. Students, we have already seen that Germany had developed synthetic indigo, and this made the landlords to obtain agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation. You know, the sharecropping arrangement was really a burden to the peasants, and many of them signed willingly. Those who opposed or resisted, they engaged lawyers. You know, the landlords hired thugs, musclemen, to deal with peasants who opposed and did not pay the compensation or did not enter into an agreement to pay the compensation. Meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants, farmers, who had already signed, and now they wanted their money back. Some of them had already paid the compensation to the British landlords. And when they came to know that the landlords had asked for the compensation because of the synthetic indigo that was developed by Germany, when Germany developed it, the natural indigo was not in demand. And the illiterate peasants came to know about it, and they wanted their money back. And at this point, Gandhiji arrived in Champaran to look into their problems. Students, I hope you have understood whatever I have been trying to tell you so far. The problem that existed. Now, what was this problem? The sharecroppers' problem was they were supposed to cultivate 15% of their holdings, the indigo, and the entire produce they were to surrender to their landlords. And when there was synthetic indigo developed by Germany, the landlords wanted a compensation. Landlords wanted a compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. Students, as I told you earlier, with this we end the first part of indigo. I have divided this lesson into two parts for our online classes. It's not possible to cover the entire lesson in one go in one class. Now what you must do, find out the word meanings, learn them, write down the answers in your notebook. Above all, you should read the lesson many times. Underline the main points because a lot of questions are set on this chapter in the board examination and you should prepare well. Now you have a lot of time and make use of the time to read, study, write the answers and get ready for your examination and also do the online exam well.